After 2 weeks of hectic parleys, a dozen special sessions and several discussions, the United Nations Climate Summit has now concluded. For the first time in history, the pact targeted fossil fuels as the key driver of global warming. And as part of a last-ditch effort by world leaders to abide by the 2015 Paris Agreement, our next report gets you all the details. Take a look.
Hearing no objections, it is so decided.
After 2 weeks of torturous negotiations, a deal in Glasgow that many at the talks are calling imperfect progress. The UN Climate Summit in Scotland ended with a global agreement that aimed at least to keep alive hopes of capping global warming at 1.5 degrees Celsius and so maintain some chance of saving the world from catastrophic climate change. But a last-minute objection from India, whose energy needs are hugely dependent on the coal it has in abundance, ended up watering down the first-of-its-kind call for a reduction in fossil fuels. The agreement was hurriedly amended to accelerating, quote, efforts to phase down instead of phase out unabated coal power.
But we are disappointed.
The change was met with dismay by the rich economies of the European Union and Switzerland, as well as the Marshall Islands, one of the small Pacific island states whose existence is under threat from rising sea levels. But all said they would let it stand for the sake of an overall agreement.
We accept this change with the greatest reluctance. We do so only, and I really want to stress, only, because there are critical elements of this package that people in my country need as a lifeline for their future.
Alok Sharma, the conference chairman, apologized after he heard vulnerable nations express their anger over the last-minute changes.
I also understand the deep disappointment. But I think, as you have noted, it's also vital that we protect this package.
The agreement, in effect, acknowledged that commitments made so far to cut emissions of planet-heating greenhouse gases are nowhere near enough, and asked nations to set tougher climate pledges next year rather than every 5 years, as they are currently required to do. Scientists say that to go beyond a rise of 1.5 Celsius would unleash extreme sea level rise and catastrophes including crippling droughts, monstrous storms, and wildfires, far worse than those the world is already suffering.
And I expect better from leaders around the world.
Jennifer Morgan, the executive director of Greenpeace, expressed some disappointment in the final result, but saw the glass as half full.
And I think no matter what this word change was at the end, it's very clear that coal is on its way out around the world.
The deal gave the poorest nations more promises, but no guarantees that they would finally get more of the financial help they have long been told they will get. Activists at the summit, including Greta Thunberg, had urged world leaders to do more to avert the catastrophic effects of climate change, and repeatedly labeled the talks a failure. And on Saturday, she tweeted, quote, "The COP26 is over. Here's a brief summary, blah, blah, blah. But the real work continues outside these halls, and we will never give up, ever."
Meanwhile, air pollution in the Indian capital, New Delhi, has seen a marginal improvement of late after it reached the lower end of the very poor category. The air quality index of the national capital now stands at 318. The improvement comes a day after the state government announced a one-week closure of schools. Delhi is ranked as one of the world's most polluted cities with a hazardous mixture of factory and vehicle emissions. And to combat the rising pollution, the state government is now mulling over the Supreme Court's suggestion of imposing a pollution-related lockdown, something which has never happened before. The apex court has, however, termed the rise in pollution levels as an emergency situation.
See, point is, it's not this kind of solution. I mean, you can't lock down the economy on a regular basis. Prior to this, there was a lockdown because of COVID itself. Right now, they are closing the schools. So I think this is not the solution. I know the children are getting affected by the pollution, but this is not the solution. They have to take very strict actions regarding this one. So this is what I need to say about this thing. I mean, policies needs to be changed, right?
Meanwhile, the construction activity in the national capital has been halted till November 17th. Apart from this, in a bid to reduce hazardous air pollution, the government offices, agencies and autonomous bodies have been directed to ask their employees to work from home. WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.